Hey, how are you? Um, this is an interesting article I read on film preservation um, and how storing stuff in a digital format isn't the be-all end-all. In fact, according to the article, um, it's actually 11 times more expensive to store 35mm film in digital format. Let's forget about all the problems that digital film has to begin with. I'll give you one example. Um, uh, I'm not sure how recent it was, but Pixar had realised they had lost 25% of the original Toy Story due to corrupt files. They had a problem with Toy Story 2. The files for it were stored on a Linux machine, and I'm sure it's a lot more complex than this, but one afternoon someone hit the delete key and they'd lost scores and scores of scenes from the film. Now, if it wasn't just for one of the animators who'd recently had a baby and took a copy of the film home, the only remaining copy of the film home, that's how they got back those scenes. 2 years of work had been erased in about 20 seconds. Crazy. But yeah, the people have been saying, well, why don't you just transfer the films to digital format and then, free up all the space you've got. All you've got to do for a piece of film is to store it at the right temperature, and a piece of film can last 1,000 years. Your standard film that we've got now can last 1,000 years. Whereas if it's in digital format, the format changes so quickly that you'll find every few months you've got the cost of going through and changing everything over to a new format. If you wait too long, the format you've got the film stored in becomes obsolete and you can no longer access the files. I'm sure technically there's ways around it, but in the long run, it's in the last 10 years we've gone through like 20 different digital formats. It's ridiculous, and it's very expensive for the studios to do that. That's why you'll find that we've lost 3/4 of our silent films that we had. We've only got 1/4 of all silent films that were ever created. Old silent films, not new. You may not care about silent films too much, but just think about that for a minute. All that work, all that creativity, think of like Metropolis and Nosferatu and all that sort of stuff. Gone. Absolutely gone. Never to be seen ever again. We've only got 25% of that. We nearly lost the original prints for Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz because the studio had already made inferior, I might add, copies of them, and we're going to throw out the original negatives to make space. Crazy. I don't know why. It wasn't until some independent archiver stepped in and said, hey, no, don't destroy it. We'll take that and look after it. But yeah, the film shouldn't be disregarded, I don't think. I mean, digital's not even up to the level that that film is now. Film doesn't have a resolution like digital does at the moment. So we've got to preserve these things properly. I mean, think about it. Because it costs so much to transfer a film to a digital format or even store film, you'll find that a lot of films that were released on VHS never made the DVD format, and you'll find a lot of films that have been released on DVD will never make the Blu-ray format. There's just so much cost in transferring from one source to the other. I mean, I think we should pay more attention to a lot of these companies that are trying to restore films. I've seen a a piece recently where they were restoring the original negative for Jaws. That comes out middle of August, I think it does. And it was amazing what they did to it. They took it from the original negative, and you watch the original negative side by side with what was the they did like I think a digital restoration a few years ago for the, I don't know what anniversary it was, but the original negative struck for the Blu-ray compared to that, whatever that was for the DVD. The original negative looked terrible. It looked yellow and old and scratched, and it was really, I used to think they used to go out with like a little Photoshop and rub out all the scratches, but what they do for the fine, they're like lots of vertical scratches down the print, and they actually dip the film in like a emulsion, a liquid, so when it runs through, when they're rescanning it, when it runs through the machine, the liquid actually blocks off the scratches, so when it takes a photo of the single frame, no scratches are visible. It must save hours and hours, but then you've still got like big massive scratches that they literally have to say go one frame back or one frame forward and cut and paste. But you can spend like a day doing like a second of work, so they've put a crazy amount of work into this. But now, hopefully with that newly restored print, they can then put that into safekeeping. So when our next, whatever format might be, come out after Blu-ray, they can strike a copy from the negative once again, and go on and so forth. So I think it's very important that we pay attention to the films that we're losing. We're losing so many films. For the longest time, they thought that what's it called, Near Dark was gone. Turned up, someone found it. There's rumours that people think that London After Midnight, which is a famous lost film, which, if I can divert for a second, weirdly no one's actually seen London After Midnight, at least no one who'd be able to vote on Internet Movie Database. But for some reason, London After Midnight is like rating it like about 7 or 8. But on what? Yeah. A few years ago, I think Ted Turner's network did a piece together some stills and some music, so it was like watching well, not even really a motion comic, it was just stills put to music. It was like some slideshow of the film, and I don't know, I'm not sure if they're rating it on that, but anyway, that's beside the point. A lot of people think that London After Midnight might actually turn up in someone's private collection somewhere. I know a vault was recently opened in some estate auction or something like that, and they found reels and reels of some old TV shows and stuff like that. So stuff's turning up all the time. I know they found new Metropolis footage, and they all put that together on a recent Blu-ray restoration, which apparently looks amazing. I'd love to pick that up. But yeah, I think it's very important. I mean, I know everyone's going digital, and digital has put filmmaking in the hands of everyone now. Everyone can go out and make a film, which isn't necessarily always a good idea, but you can now get movie quality film equipment for, you don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have the equipment under your control. You can make a film now at home on your computer. You all know that, but I'm just trying to make a point. But I think a lot of the old school directors hopefully will hang on to film. I'm a bit disappointed that Ridley Scott went digital for Prometheus. I would have thought he would have been the last of the directors to go film, to go digital. But anyway, apparently he's not having any fun with digital, so he may go back for his next film. But I think for all the pros that digital hold, I think there's enough cons where it's not going to replace film just yet. I know a lot of the one-man band sort of production houses, like Robert Rodriguez, Digital is the best thing ever, because they shoot it and then it goes straight to their production house. He does all his green screen and CGI and all that sort of stuff work, and it's just out. So it's done, and then you've gone straight from the digital file straight to film, straight to Blu-ray or whatever, and it looks great. But it doesn't have that texture that film does. But yeah. So I think hopefully film will stay around for a little bit longer. I think it will. I think you'll see a lot of the old schoolers hanging onto it for as long as they can. I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to become a budgetary thing, but we'll see. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think film's good, or do you think film is something that's overstayed its welcome? I'd love to hear your comments. Anyway, alright, ta-ta.